What's up, everybody? All right. We can get rolling. Today for us as a team is like an in-season Wednesday, and with the game being on Saturday, so push all that up. Our division tournament continues, and what we discussed with the team today was just the process of winning. You know, all the things that we need to do today, tomorrow, over the next 4 days to get ready, and a lot of that of the play style and the identity. A big part for us that continues to not be where the standard we want is the ball and the turnover margin. And so that's going to be something over these 3 games, man, we're really digging in on again to change that. And so, like, that's at the very much front of our thinking. But ready to get rocking. Just another, like, great rivalry game to be a part of. So, like, time to get rocking.
Surprisingly, I'm going to stick with Jaden. How I know that you're still in the middle. You still have 3 games left. His season's now over. How would you assess his season?
Yeah, I'll give you a better sense after once I'm going to go through everything. Obviously, there's like not enough information for me to give you a full report on things. There's things that we want to work on here over the next 3 weeks, so that'll be a lot of things outside the pocket, John. But as an overall assessment, like, we've all missed the mark. We've all missed the mark, and so there'll be a number of things that all of us, we're going to go through a full process to this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to fix it, this is where we're going to go at him, at coaching, at everything. So I'll give you a better sense, once I have more time to go through everything.
With the practice, what is the plan? Like, what things will he be working on in practice? How do you go about that to, again, others are preparing for games. You want to prepare them for other things. Like, What is the plan for him in practice? What kind of things will you be doing?
Well, there'll be some out-of-the-pocket things or some progression things that he'll go through. He'll work some of the scout cards on concepts that we have. So it'll be a little bit of a mix. Today's not quite as much. We're not going as fast. But even then, there's some post-practice work that he'll do too, John. So we felt like we got these 3 weeks. Can we get, like, very customized and specific of things outside the pocket first? And once we do that, then we thought that's how we'll, see how we can take best advantage of this. And I'll remind everybody, like, he wasn't cleared to play, and I think that's important, part of this to know that, like, he's wanting to, and so, like, just we're not there, and so this was the right call, even though it was a difficult one.
I know we've talked about this, but sort of finding that balance to where you protect him, but not, change his mindset or his style of play.
Yep.
Do you worry about that with him? Like, how do you kind of walk that line with him?
Yeah, all the way back to when he was injured with the elbow, one of his projects that he had, even while we were, in Spain, like, how does he use this superpower of his legs and outside the pocket while also protecting the team? And so that was the biggest topic, Nikki, to go through. And we all know this when you take a big view of yourself. What do I need different? What can I do better? And so, obviously, to get injured, in a game that it wasn't on a scrambling play, but he was still injured, like, he was desperately wanting to prove that, and this is what I've saw, this is what I've developed and learned for it. And so there's plenty to work on, but we're clear about it, and so I think that's a good thing.
I know you have games you're looking ahead to still, but I know you're a big note taker too. So as you've gone through the season, have you made any notes on things that you would want to do differently going into year 3?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the good part about doing it in segments. It helps. What could be different about camp? What could be different about an in-season format? What could be different about a practice? You could do it in those live moments, but now even there's some spaces, wakes you up at night and you write, okay, what about this? What about that moment? I also, lean in on a person like Zach. He was to get surgery this week. I need an hour with you on Friday, and so I wanted to pick his brain just to find, things that he had. I've learned so much through the years from players. They're the ones doing it, going through it, and so I never want to miss those moments when I can.
Coach, kind of big picture question. There's been a lot of discussion around the league this week about how quarterbacks approach their progressions. I'm curious how you've seen the mental aspect of quarterbacking change over the last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, and it's a good one. Where does the read begin? So often there's so much shotgun now that's different than maybe 10 to 15 years where play action pass, your back was turned, you already know where the route's going to come, so you're quickly to go. So often now is it a half-field read, these 2 players or these 3 players, so the numbers, the concepts of how you go, the quickness that it goes into that. It's a lot, and it's a big deal. I'm glad that you asked it because it's part of their training, into it and the different styles of passes from 3-step to 5-step. And so going through those progressions, it's a big deal.
Dan, with obviously there's a big picture equation with sitting Jaden for the rest of the year. When you have 3 games left and the rest of the locker room is obviously still out there if they're healthy, how do you manage that as a coach of making sure guys don't kind of check out of those games even if the quarterback isn't playing?
Well, he's not cleared to play first, so I think I don't want to lose that, and I'm not trying to say one thing or another, but this is a player that wants to play, and so I want to start just by that first, and then after that I don't have and I have not had a sense of that with our team whatsoever. So I love this group. I love what they stand for. After the game, I told them, man, I don't want to go through something like this, but if I had to, these are the type of men I'd want to go through something really hard with, because the last 2 months for us as a team, as players and coaches, we've been as challenged as we've ever been. So they play for one another. It's not for one person. And so I think that's an important thing to remember, like when we're talking about an entire team sport, and there's so many things for us to play for and play really hard. We're right here in the division, and we play, these 17 are all we're guaranteed. So it's not like, some of our other professional sports where they get to play a lot more. It's really important.
This might seem a little out of left field, but you kind of left Javonte and Luke as open-ended. Maybe they could return. Do you expect either of them to return, or I guess I'd say anybody else that you're expecting to come back in these next 2 games?
Good question. No, not at this time.
What about Drake Jackson?
Yeah, Drake has been cleared to be a full, practice today. So we're looking forward to seeing how his week goes, and he would give himself a real shot to play as long as the week goes like we think.
We talked yesterday about Jaden's reaction to the news. How did Marcus react about the next 3 games being his, and then do you expect Jaden's role to flip, being out there at practice, getting Marcus ready to start the next 3?
I think that's that was important for Jaden to know that he felt this unconditional support from Marcus for the last 2 seasons, and so when you get to be back into that spot, that's a big deal. We talked a little bit about it, but we didn't spend a lot of time, other than the fact that I know it's difficult when you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. So getting all the reps, getting all the game plan, that's a big deal. And our team will they'll fight their ass off for Marcus. They love him and want to make sure playing our best that we're capable of playing.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Antonio Hamilton Sr. Here's a guy who's been in the league for about 10 years, on and off some P squads, graduated from an HBCU, and yet here he is making an impact late in the season. What specifically about him stands out to you, especially I want to talk about maybe the effort part quite a bit.
Sure. The first thing that jumped out to me when he came here, I don't know how many days it was before our preseason game that he played, but it jumped off on me this was elite effort and straining to show that I want in. I want to be a part of it. And so we started with him on the practice squad, and then soon those elevations, they were going to run out. But he's got a competitive nature about him. He's a fantastic teammate. So for him to make some plays, you could see how everybody was excited because he's really established himself as a fantastic teammate here. And so when that happens and someone else makes a big play, oftentimes you can just look to the sideline and to see, people going crazy for that. It's a big deal.
Coach, I want to ask about the young players. During Sunday, guys got a lot of production out of the first and second year guys, Jalen Lane, Mike Sainer still. In these last 3 games in this last stretch, what are you really looking for them to improve on, and just how important you think will that be for them? Yeah, we try to customize it for each of the guys, knowing that there's this part of the game, this is something that we want to, work on, and we actually call them work-ons. What do you want to see and work on over these next 3 weeks to say, man, I got better at that spot. Some of it is in the practice spot. Some of it's if it shows up into the game to go do it. So when they have those work-ons, then we give them feedback. Where are they at? How do they go? And so we just try to keep progressing them to go. And speaking of Jalen, that was a big deal, for us. We thought we'd have some chances on the return side, knowing what that was going to be. So sometimes you try to talk it into existence, but for him, in the 20s last week, punter come to work out, man, he's out there catching balls, being ready. And so I think there's a humility and a confidence that comes from this young guy that he's ready for the challenges.
to, for instance, that's one. And it was good to see Brandon Coleman got extended action, was, ready to be counted upon. So, yeah, there are some young guys that we're developing and counting on to be heavy hitters, and they're still learning their way and getting better, and so that's important.
Hey, Coach, meeting Philadelphia for the first time, could you talk a little bit about, that meetup?
Yes, and I thought this is a really complete team. I thought both special teams, ours and theirs, like this is going to be a physical game on the team side of things. The way they can cover kicks, the way we can. I thought, that field position this game is going to be big. I thought some playmakers at all spots along the defense. Both linebackers are very good blitzers and active. They got an excellent defensive line. I've certainly been impressed by their young corners. Where they're able to challenge and be aggressive right from the start. So those are some things defensively that I've been impressed with. Playing against us last year in the 3 games, Donna, they were exceptional, taking the ball away. I thought that was the biggest deal for us of, not giving ourselves our very best shots. I think that's going to be an important part. Then offensively, I thought, from a line standpoint, the size, the movements, the pulling, Jeff Stoutland is, one of the best there is at the offensive line spots. They've always had good tight ends. And, at the receiver spots, they get a lot of loaded box in the run game. And so the shots down the field post, the big throws to Devontae and to AJ, playmaking from that standpoint, when it's one high or something, hey, you got to go down. This running back's fantastic. Get down by the line of scrimmage. And so I think it's a good balance of what they have from the run game and the shots down the field with Jalen. So those are, I think, kind of the yin and yang of a good offense of this is where their strength is. And if you're going to overload in that one area, we're going to make you pay with these guys on the outside. They're just fantastic.
Take 3 more. A little bit from the things that you saw that you liked from the last game that you played to some things that you say we still need to clean up these areas. How do you see that?
I'll start from the latter first. I thought, number one, the penalties and, 4 fumbles. Like for us, man, we lost 2 of them, but those are top of them. Because I thought we moved the ball, we were able to have some sustained drives, but the turnover margin, that's continued to hurt us. And so that's why it's so important for me to make sure over these next 3 weeks, man, we are digging in on that. I liked, how hard the defense played. I thought the tackling in that spot was good. I thought challenging the receivers and, being aggressive. We were talking about Antonio earlier. I'd still like to see more pass rush, more ability to affect the quarterback. So those were a couple of things that were at the front of my mind. But what I did really, I'd say above all of it, I liked the response. And, bad play happens, good play, a penalty, we overcame it. I think ended up maybe a 1st and 20, prior to the touchdown to Terry. And I thought those are responding. Those are ones to get defensively to, we fumbled the ball at the end and got 4 stops. That's responding. And I also liked how all the factors, got involved in the win, the return, interception. Those are big deals.
Obviously not where your season wants to be, but how does it, when you hear players talk about that, no, DQ has not lost this locker and we're still fighting and it's all because of the culture that was established, how does that make you feel as a coach when you hear your leaders and your players still talking like that with 3 games left in the season?
It's a big deal. Obviously, when this is most challenged, I think, as I've been as a coach, when you go through a spot like that. And so to hear, a player say that, obviously that means a lot because you're wanting to stay, in the same spot and improve upon things. And so when you're not hitting the marks and got gut punched a few times, you want to make sure that they're staying in that fight and in that battle. And so to hear them say that, that's definitely what I'd hope they would say. But to hear them say that back to you, that's a big deal to me.
Got time for one more? We good?
I knew it. I know it. I knew you weren't going to waste it. That's why I'm so mad at Sean right now. It's like literally could be at lunch.
Do you expect him to practice?
He won't be out there today, but as we get into the tomorrow and the next day, then I think we've got a good shot as long as he can get into the work tomorrow. And he wouldn't normally today, Nikki, but man, does he have some rare strength. And so I'm hopeful, but I'll have a better sense when he's actually on the field, torquing, moving, to have a better real sense. But I'm definitely optimistic. We're out. That's it. One more. Okay, go. I thought in that spot he came in and did a nice job. I really did. Kind of just stepped right into the same space, and I was pleased with that, John. I was. All right, see you guys.